What's going on, diehards and degenerates? Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. It's a Monday, baby. There's no UFC this week, so we are on a break week, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have a podcast for you. You guys know I like to get on here and just chat it out a little bit, have a little one-on-one time. Come on, come sit right next here to Uncle Clint. We'll go ahead and talk some fights. That's what we do. We're going to recap UFC Vegas 92 and just kind of chat it up with everybody hanging out for a little bit, and then we'll wrap it and call it a show because I got a birthday to get to. How's everybody doing? I see my guy Alawan Dream in the chat here already. Ben in the house. Pickle Kush, what's going on, Nichols? Ethan Hershey, my guy. Chaos is in fact back, and that was glorious. That was so cool. I called it was actually pretty funny. You go back, we'll run through it. We'll run through the whole card, but you go back to the two guys that I was like, they're fighting power punchers and they keep their hands down. And sure enough, both of them hammered round one dingers. I thought there was a chance that maybe Chaos kind of plays it a little cool, plays it a little slick, works his way to a decision, dangerous opponent. Like that was on the table, but I called that knockout. So it was, it felt pretty good. It felt pretty good. Both him and Yanez getting back on track. Pretty freaking awesome this past week. So sad day, no baby blues, didn't pull away the win. And, it's somebody's fault. It's somebody's fault. We'll get there. We will get there. How's everybody doing? Everyone do me a favor. Hit the like button. If you're on social media, do me a favor. Just click that share button for me. This is Home of Fight, guys. Make sure you are checking out the description below. Come join us in the Discord. Come join us in the Telegram group, which I talked about this last week. Did you guys know Telegram is like a thing now? I thought Telegram was like almost like WhatsApp, where it's like an encrypted thing. So like you don't want to let people know, who you're talking to, what you're doing, that kind of thing. It makes it easy to DM if you're, across state lines or if you're in different countries, that kind of thing. But apparently, especially for like gambling, they're making like Telegram groups where a bunch of people can hang out together and do shit. Like, I had no idea. Apparently, I need to expand my horizons and get going with this Telegram nonsense. But the Home of Fight has built a Telegram. It's mostly for like MMA news and stuff like that. So if you just want a place where you can go to get caught up on anything that might be breaking faster even than Twitter, they're going to be sending those type of notification blasts out there. So jump in that Telegram group. You won't miss a damn thing in the world of combat sports if you're a part on that. Small World Lifters, what's going on? Hey, be traveling safe, man. Be traveling safe. You probably did dodge a bullet this weekend. It was a very, very sketchy card. I ended up down 1.1 units. And again, like I said, it was because of a situation that I was down at all. So like should have been a win, but I know a lot of people that lost their ass because there was a lot of crazy stuff that happened this week. Let's just run through it. Let's run through it, right? First fight of the night. Oh, you know what? Very important. I did the anchor move again this week, right? I picked my favorite of the weekend and tied a whole bunch of parlays to that one person. And this anchor move has actually been working out really well for me recently. But we probably should address the elephant in the room, right? My anchor this past weekend was in Bellator, Patchy Mix. And I did a video a week or so ago proclaiming Patchy to be the #1 bantamweight on planet Earth. I believe I ranked them Patchy Mix, Umar Nurmagomedov, Merab Dvalishvili, Sean O'Malley, and then Piotr Yan. And that video was not received very kindly. A lot of people were very upset about my rankings, and especially after watching the way the main event of Bellator played out. There were a lot of people that took issue with Patchy Mix being my number one ranked bantamweight in the world. And you guys are absolutely right. I may have made a bit of an error on this list. Maybe I went a little bit too hard on this thing, and I would like to correct that. So, starting from the bottom, let me give you my revised version of my list. Number 5, bantamweight overall on planet Earth, is Magomedov. You guys think I'm changing the list? You think I'm not going to put Patchy as the number one bantamweight because he went 5 rounds with a Khabib-trained Magomedov, and when the game plan was completely different what they planned for, my boy adjusted mid-fight like a champion, won the belt, and retained his title over one of the most elite camps on planet Earth. You think that's a negative? No, not a chance in the world. Patchy Mix, number one bantamweight on the planet. Give Magomedov his flowers. That man would be a top 8 fighter in the UFC this second if he moved over and switched organizations. He's only career professional loss before losing to Patchy Mix and then Rufian Stats over in Bellator was none other than Piotr Yan. This man has fought everybody and wrecked everybody, and Patchy almost tapped him out in that fight twice. Nobody in the UFC top 5 is surviving the guillotine that Patchy Mix had on this man. Show some respect. That being said, my anchor for the weekend cashed. Patchy Mix got us the numbers that we were looking for when it came to the other lines on UFC Vegas 92. And that was the whole point. That was the whole point. What we ended up getting was a beautiful minus 133 on Emily Ducot. And I felt a whole lot better about that than like the minus 250, minus 260 that she would have been. And Vanessa Demopoulos just did the freaking thing. My God, I shouted out Vanessa, friend of the show. She's appeared on the podcast briefly before. My guy Brandon Olivas hooked it up. And I've always loved Vanessa. I've always tried to give her flowers. I've always thought she was a little underrated. And then I turned around and immediately underrated her. I thought that Emily Ducot was going to whoop her. And she just was tough as nails. She refused to go anywhere. Her leg, oh my goodness. Did you guys see her calf? Like, Ducot went to work with those leg kicks exactly like I said she was going to, and Vanessa just put her game face on and kept coming forward. Now, to be fair, she doesn't have a very good game face. You could see every time she was hurt, every single time she was like injured and struggling, you could tell. I actually thought Ducot had a much better game face, but Demopoulos rocked Ducot multiple times in that fight. I thought the range control of Ducot would be better. I thought she'd be able to avoid some of those big power shots, but Vanessa got it done with volume and just grit and intensity, and it was impressive. Even though Ducot was landing kind of the cleaner strikes, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I scored at 29-28 Emily Ducot. I still thought Ducot won the fight, but it was a close enough matchup that I can completely understand how and why people scored at 29-28 for Vanessa Demopoulos. And what we are trying to do is make good bets. Now at minus 133 or so, I actually think I made an okay bet. 29-28 in a close fight, women's MMA, getting minus 133. I don't think that's so bad. But getting plus 200 on the money line for Vanessa Demopoulos or laying that minus 250 tag, like, that's a bad move if you're laying that kind of chalk on Ducot with how that fight played out. And anybody that bet Vanessa Demopoulos, not only did they cash the ticket, but they made a damn good bet doing it. So props. Shout out to each and every one of you that made an actual bet on Vanessa Demopoulos. My guy Pepe in the chat. What's up, buddy? Thanks for hanging out. Angie Hill, my guy. We're not there yet, but early shout out to Pepe. This man called the submission prop for Angela Hill. And guys, right before the fight kicked off, about 2 seconds before the fight started, I was like, you know what? Pepe said something about the sub, and I put like $20 on the sub. Just was like, all right, whatever. Like, just tossed it in there. Holy crap. Like, I had a money line bet on Angela Hill. I completely expected her to win. Never even in my wildest dreams did I think it would be a sub. Like, I thought her opponent might pull a quit job, but it would be like a TKO, right? I never thought she was grabbing a neck. Props to Angie Overkill. I've been a longtime fan and supporter of hers, and I love to see her making improvements and getting better even at 38, 39 years old. She's freaking awesome. She's free. Pepe, you need to buy a shirt. If you cash that sub prop and you got those late round props, Like you need to go buy an Angie Overkill Hill t-shirt. If I would, especially if I was the one giving out the play. Absolutely. My Anthony Lionheart Smith shirt shipped today. It's on its way. I got the brand new Anthony Smith t-shirt, so I'll be rocking that as soon as it gets here. You best believe. That's my boy. He says, all right, already bought a shirt. Love to hear it. So the next fight, guys, I got to tell you, this is my bad. And I owe my guy Link an apology. This on me. I have a t-shirt on the DieHard MMA podcast shop that you can buy, and you can rock the merch and let people know how much of a degenerate you are. And that shirt says always trust your balls. And I left them in my wife's purse. I picked Alatang Lee as the dog of the week from a mile away. Came on the podcast last week, and then I hemmed and hawed. And then I waited for the face-offs. And then I saw how fucking big this Rodriguez kid was. And I was like, oh, man. Like, he's young. What if he made improvements? I hesitated. I second-guessed myself. The literal only dog on the card that I wanted any part of on Monday was Alatang Lee. And I did not make him the dog of the week on the podcast. And by the end of the week, I had thought myself into a hole. And I ended up pulling the trigger on Barbosa. And I left it to a vote. I didn't even have the nuts to make a dog of the week call myself. I left the dog of the week to a vote in the chat. And of course, we got that one wrong. So this one's on me. That's my bad. Alatang Lee should have been a bet. Alatang Lee should have been the Link Memorial Dog of the Week last week. And I'm upset about that because the last couple weeks I did a record update for you guys. If you guys are not following me on social media, if you're audio only or YouTube only, that kind of thing, and you don't see my hilarious social media posts, I did do a record update, and we are down 1.05 units in 2024. So I started like the first event of the year, we went up like 8-9 units like right away. First event of 2024, and it was all downhill since. It has been just like off a cliff immediately. Everything wrong, bad beats, bad reads, the 7-unit bet on Jamal Hill. Like, it was all rough ever since then. I have scraped and clawed and fought my way back. We are essentially even, folks. We are down 1 unit in 2024. So we're coming back. We're coming back with a vengeance, and the reads have been on. They have been right there. Back-to-back weeks where I only got 1 fight prediction wrong on the entire card. Like, I am in the zone. I hope this week off doesn't just like fuck me up, because I am absolutely dialed in right now when it comes to the picks, the bets, and that's hard to do. Sometimes you get the picks right, but the bets wrong. I'm doing both. I'm doing it all right at the moment, and we are headed upwards. But I've got back-to-back weeks where, like, UFC St. Louis lost a half unit because of, a live bet. UFC Vegas 9 and a split decision, by the way. And then on UFC Vegas 92, I'm down 1 unit because of a disqualification and a live bet. That it's like, I'm right there. Like, we should be turning positives on these, and everything is great. But missed opportunities, I won't forgive myself for missed opportunities. Not betting Alatang Lee was a mistake. That was my bad, and I'm pissed off about it. I get upset about these things. That's how you guys always know I'm going to work to try to get myself in the positive. That's how you guys know. Even though I'm putting on a show for your entertainment, that's the purpose. I still want to be good. I still want to make money betting. It's not as easy as it looks. It's hard, but you guys know I'm always striving for that. Anyway, the next fight up is the one we're referring to, right? Piera Rodriguez and Ariane Carnelossi. I pulled my anchor move again. We parlayed up Piera Rodriguez with my guy Patchy Mix, and we got a nice plus 114, I think, on that number. We just had a 1 unit bet on it. It was one of those ones where I'm like, this is too wide for my liking. It's funny, actually, because the true numbers for Rodriguez and Ducot ended up being flipped compared to like what they were in my head, right? Like, I thought Ducot should have been maybe a wider favorite, and I thought Rodriguez should have been maybe a shorter favorite. And then watching the fights play out, those were the opposite of what should have been taking place. Piera Rodriguez absolutely worked Carnelossi. Carnelossi didn't look like she belonged in the cage with Rodriguez. And then we're deep in round 2. I've got a 9-1 sub prop, and Rodriguez hits another takedown and gets on top of Carnelossi. And Carnelossi's just too damn tough to go away. And I'm like, this is it. When you've got an opponent who you've beaten the brakes off, they are bloodied, they are tired, they are exhausted, their will has left them to fight. You sink in an arm triangle choke and they're tapping. That's their way out. That's how they get out of that fight. They go ahead and get finished, but they didn't get knocked out. That somehow makes it okay. I was so ready. And then she headbutts her. The ref goes, don't do that. And she goes, like she just straight up does it again. I'm like, Piera, what are you doing? I could not believe that she looks at the ref and then headbutts her a second time. English might not be her first language. I had a guy arguing with me on Twitter that was like, yeah, but you can't expect her, English might not be her first language. She doesn't know what the ref is saying. It's the middle of a fight. It's like, bro, if you make it to the UFC, at absolutely no point in mixed martial arts are headbutts legal. Amateur, regional, PFL, UFC, none of them. Not once can you headbutt somebody in a cage where it's sanctioned and it's going to be okay. That is her freaking fault. If she doesn't know that headbutts aren't legal, that's her team and her coach's fault for letting her believe something like that is okay. The referee handled it perfectly. She deserved to be disqualified, and I'm pissed off because what should have been a coasting victory for, at minimum, a 1.14 unit win, which would have gotten me positive on the event, at minimum, could have also been a late submission cash. Like, it was all working perfectly. I'm pissed. I'm so frustrated. This is the type of shit we bet on. You might get the refs calling fouls in NBA. You might get a bottom of the ninth home run in MLB. We are absolute masochists for betting on mixed martial arts when this is the kind of shit that happens when our money is on the line. What is wrong with us as a collective? I am so frustrated with this. I love that she called her out, though, because I guess Ariane Carnelossi was like, oh, well, they did scans on my face and there were multiple fractures and my nose was broken. Piera Rodriguez wasn't having that shit. She posted like a reel on Instagram today. She was like, yeah, I landed 140 significant strikes on your face. Like, you don't think that's what caused the fractures? No, she beat the brakes off this chick. It had nothing to do with the love tap that landed somewhere just below her first chin, right? Like, it had nothing to do with the headbutt. Piera Rodriguez destroyed Carnelossi over the weekend. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. And yeah, Aussie saying, give that girl an Oscar. Abso-freaking-lutely. There's a couple of different people on this card. We talked about it last week where I was like, Oscars are being handed out. Like, Tamara's Vidal, she got into the UFC off an Oscar. She has a win on her professional record off an Oscar. Luana Pinheiro, she got her first or second UFC victory via Oscar. Like, that's a thing on this card. These women are willing to do whatever it takes to get their hand raised. Don't get me wrong. When money's on the line, I get it. I totally get it. But the worst part about this one was the moment where they're trying to check and see if Carnelossi is okay. And the official, he's like this, like arms extended in the middle of the cage. He's like making sure everyone stays away from each other. And you can see her. I'm going to reenact this for you guys. She's like off to the side. She's like off to the side over here like this. And you can see her like she's shaking her head out. She's looking around. And then as soon as people are not looking at her, she goes. Like, she straight up crawls underneath the arms of the official to peek across the cage at her coaches. Her eyes are like this. Like, she is wide-eyed and clear, no problems whatsoever. And then as soon as she gets the thumbs up from her coach, like, stay down. She immediately like turns her back to everybody and like, she like slumps over. I'm like, yeah, we caught you on camera. We saw you. Guys, so Piera Rodriguez broke the rules, guys. Piera Rodriguez broke the rules. That was a disqualification because Piera did something she wasn't supposed to. But when we've got you red-handed on video like that, they should be able to like, so we need flags in MMA. We need flags. We need red flags that are like in the NFL, challenge flags. Like the coaches can just like, chuck a challenge flag at Herb Dean and be like, watch the replay, bro. Watch the replay. It's a no contest, not a DQ, because she's fucking fine. Like that should be something we can do in MMA. Drove me nuts. I about died laughing though. The look on her face. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back and find it. Like on the ESPN video, I'm gonna rewind it and find that exact shot. Freaking amazing. All right. That's plenty. I've beaten on Ariane Carnelossi enough, almost as much as Pierre Rodriguez did. Let's move on. Next fight, Avis Magomedov and Warley Alves. Oh my goodness. So this is one that was really frustrating. I did like a 5-leg inside the distance parlay. I was really expecting a lot of these big favorites to finish, and Abus was one of them that I was expecting to finish. I got to tell you, he's let me down, guys, yet again. He was another 2-legger parlay anchor leg, and I'm grateful that cashed, but the fear in this man's eyes from a fat Warley Alves moving up, like this man, he should have handled Warley Alves, but he was running for his life on the feet and taking this man down with an urgency and looked like he was exhausted. It's like, damn, dude, like if you're not handling this version of Warley Alves up at 185, like we got a problem. So I think the shine has come completely off of Abus. Happy to cash that 2-leg ticket. But yeah, Ethan, never again, because he absolutely is not the guy I thought he was. He's got real issues with the cardio. It seems like his durability is okay as long as he's not tired. Obviously, if he's tired, it looks like he'll fall over, almost without much of a problem. And then he even struggles with a guy like Warley. He just kept exploding. He just kept getting back up. I'm like, hey, this guy's a 170 fighter, dude. Like, if you can't keep down Warley Alves and find your way to his back and neck, especially in round 3, like, yikes, like what's he gonna do to some of these other guys that are in this division? I think we're gonna have to switch sides here a little bit and look to maybe fade Avis. It'll be matchup dependent, obviously, right? We can't just, he's not a blanket like fade this guy, but he definitely is a guy that we want to be careful with moving forward. Shout out Dixon Cider. Yes, betting Brazilian lesbians is plus EV always. But I mean, you got off on a technicality here because, frankly, I thought Pierre Rodriguez was Brazilian when I made the bet. So I thought it was Brazil on Brazil crime. I didn't realize she was Venezuelan. So I thought you were agreeing with me when you told me that last week. I didn't realize you were on the other side. But yeah, good call. Louis saying that you just have to bet Abus's money line, and that's pretty much accurate, right? Like you do think that he's going to be capable of finishing, and that's the thing. He's got fast hands, he's got knockout power. He obviously knows what he's doing on the mat. He was looking for a rear naked choke basically the entire fight. He can finish, but apparently he will also just kind of work his way to a greasy, sweaty ass decision too, which you got to think is actually technically high fight IQ. Like we can't get mad at the guy for winning a fight that way when he needs to. He was on an 0-2 run, needed to get a win, needed to keep his job. I get it, but like, damn, bro, you're not the top, 10 guy I thought you might be if you're riding out wins like that against Warley Alves. Tomorrow's Vidal and Melissa Gatu. This was another weird one, guys. So, like, I had one of my crazy little Hail Mary parlays, and it had Gatu by sub. She went for a sub way too late. Ladies, coaches, if you guys are watching this, y'all should know women are gummies, right? Like they do not tap the way that men do. If a man was in the armbar, Melissa Gatu slapped on tomorrow's Vidal, he's tapping instantaneously because his shoulder is shattering into pieces. But the women are so damn flexible. You can't go for the sub with 2 seconds on the clock. They're just not going to tap. It's not going to happen. If she had gone for that sub with 12 seconds left on the clock, it's over. It's over. But instead, she ends up getting the titty KO in round 3. Like, what the hell, man? I called Tamaris Vidal the estranged daughter of Derek Lewis, right? And I think that holds accurate because she kind of pulled some Derek Lewis type shit in this fight. And she tries to call her own timeout when she gets tagged right in the nipple. And the ref was like, keep going, bro. Like, I'm sorry. I feel bad for women. I really do, because we have cups. We have these giant, like, steel-plated cup. Like, if you kick me in the nuts in an MMA fight, you're more likely going to break your toe than I'm going to bust a nut. That's the wrong way to say that. You know what I mean. But the women, they've got boobs, most of them anyway, and they're not covered at all. Like, the titty shot needs to be, and it's the new leg kick. Okay, the women's MMA titty shot is the new calf kick. New MMA meta just got discovered. Melissa Gatto is starting this new wave. She's gonna speed bag. She's just gonna start speed bagging people. Like, why wouldn't you? It's the softest, most delicate part on the body, and there's nothing covering it. Like, I feel a little bad for Tamaris Vidal in this spot. But yeah, you can't call your own timeout and turn your back to your opponent. You just can't do that. So the ref rightfully waved it off. And I feel bad. I feel bad because I've had a titty twister before, and I'm sure it's nowhere near the level of pain that women have to deal with when they get punched there. But the picture of her with the ice pack when they're raising Kato's hand, it's funny. that's a pretty hysterical picture. So shout out, like, Narco and Tim. I mean, I'm basically just advertising for everybody else out there today. Narco and Tim called the round 2, round 3 TKOs for Melissa Gatto, and I thought they were insane. Like, I think, did I cash inside the distance or knockout specifically when she won via front kick against Sajara Eubanks? I might have actually cashed a KO. I'm actually very high on Gato and her skill set, as you guys know, and I've talked about how dangerous she is on the feet multiple times. So I should have been the guy rooting for, like, the KO, right? And I just didn't see it happening. Never saw it happening. This is the kind of shit that happens in MMA. Shout out to Narco and Tim cashing like a 30-1 on Gato round 3 TKO. Absolutely insane. Phenomenal. The scenes. Oh, Ethan in the chat saying, Clint, we're just messing around on the pod. Give me your early prediction for Michael O versus Kevin Holland. You know, it really seems like the UFC is trying to get Holland on track here, right? Michelle Oleksiejczuk appears to be a bit of a throwaway at this stage in his career, right? The UFC still knows they've got somebody fun and marketable in Kevin Holland, but in order for him to have fun and marketable fights, he's got to win one every now and again. We've seen Oleksiejczuk what happens when anybody grapples with this guy, and we've seen Kevin Holland learn the lesson of, oh shit, I should have grappled. Like, I think this is a setup fight. I think Kevin Holland is more than capable of combating Oleksiejczuk on the feet, and he's durable. So it's not like he's going to get chinned in the first shot. And that's Oleksiejczuk's really only path to victory, is like sparking people early, because he doesn't have great cardio and he can't grapple. I really think that Kevin Holland is going to style on that kid. I mean, he probably gets the sub in round 1 or 2, but I wouldn't be surprised. Holland is the guy I always tell you guys, be careful, because he'll win whatever way he wants. If he wants to play for 15 minutes in there and win a decision, he can. If he wants to strike and win by knockout, he can. If he wants to take it to the ground and put that jiu-jitsu to work, then he can do that too. So Kevin Holland's another money line guy. You got to be careful, because if you don't money line him, you risk losing a layup spot. Let's see here. Joshua is saying, off topic, but how about Tyson Fury taking his first L? Unreal. I don't know anything about boxing, and I had a buddy that actually messaged me and was like, dude, bet Usyk. Okay. Like, I straight up just was like, all right, like, no questions asked. Let's do the damn thing. Wild fight. Can't believe they saved him. Like, when he was like out against the ropes and they like called a stop to the fight, not to call it a TKO, but to give him a minute to recover. Oh, boxing is corrupt as shit. MMA is stupid. And people make mistakes, but boxing is corrupt as shit. Absolutely hate that shit. Omar C and Tuco Tokos. I ended up pulling the trigger on C by knockout, because we've seen Tokos just mauled on the ground, and he's been knocked out several times before. You know, C wants to make a splash in his debut, and I don't know what it is, but usually when fighters want to like make a statement, it's a knockout. Like, I know there's no like stat behind that, but people want to come in, throw hands, get a big viral knockout, get put up on the ESPN top 10 for the week, you know, that kind of shit. And I thought that's what he was going to do here. But he must have seen something, guys, because he was thinking sub and sub only. Like, he got on this guy's back and just refused to throw punches. So if you play it inside the distance, which was like minus 250 or some shit, like if you parlayed up inside the distance or something on C, then, you know, props to you. If you played the sub, sharp ass call, because that was the only thing that he was looking for. But this guy's got hands and he's got ground and pound. So we'll get a KO ticket from C eventually down the road. But I'm curious to see him against some kind of actual UFC caliber competition. This Tokos guy coming in very short notice, obviously very much lacking the grappling here in this type of a spot. That really doesn't tell us a whole lot. This was basically just another regional fight, right? Victor Martinez and Tom Nolan. Nolan, guys, he was another parlay piece. And I wish I had done C that way, by the way. I should have had C and Gato as anchored parlay pieces to Patchy Mix as well. I really should have. I was a little spooked on Gato because of how wide the line was. And then I didn't want C because with the late notice replacement, I wasn't familiar enough with his opponent to feel comfortable making that a bet. But anyway, Victor Martinez and Tom Nolan. This Nolan kid, I think Victor Martinez doesn't belong in the UFC, guys. I really don't. And especially at this weight class. He's too small. Victor cracked Tom hard. And now Tom did everything right after getting caught. He's a young kid. He's still just 7-1, so he's light on experience. But I think this kid might have a durability problem. We might need to look out for Tom Nolan because he could end up being a hype train. And if they give him somebody who can crack and somebody who's not just a complete bum, he might be someone we can fade. We'll take a look at the numbers and the prices as he gets going because these young guys, it reminds me of like Charles Oliveira, right? Like he got finished a couple times and I called him a quitter. I labeled him a quitter. He's one of the greatest fighters on planet Earth. He held the championship title at 155, the hardest weight class in the UFC to obtain gold in, and he was reigning over that division. Like Charles Oliveira went from a kid that I had marked as a fade and chinny to one of the biggest badasses on planet Earth. So let's not count out Tom Nolan that quickly, but I'm extremely skeptical. I am ready to look for opportunities to be on the other side of this kid. He's only 24, so he's got a lot of growing to do. He could be a Chase Hooper, right? Like Chase went 3-3 to start his UFC run, got knocked around and finished a couple times. Now look at him. Moves up to 155 and beats the brakes off of Slava Claus. It's not over. Give the kid some time. But I worry about the durability. I really do. Luana Pinheiro and Angie Hill. Now, Luana is somebody who I marked as a fade a mile away a long time ago, and I'm very happy that I stuck to my guns on that one because you look at what she can do in the cage, and it seems like she's a smooth operator. It seems like she's got the judo. She's got the boxing. She hits hard. She lumped up poor Amanda Hebos in that last fight, and it seems like somebody who just has everything, and it's just, ready to turn that corner, but she's 30 years old, and she quits. And I already mentioned I talked about it last week. I was like, I will never mention Luana Pinheiro and not remind you guys that she got carried out of the octagon like it was her wedding night, just draped over the arms of her man because she took an up kick from Miranda Marcos and faked like that, knocked her out. Miranda Marcos, who has not won professional knockout to her name, suddenly hits you hard enough by accident to knock you senseless. Not a chance. This girl was fading so fast. She took her window of opportunity and got a DQ. And we have seen that quit in her every single time since. My girl Sam Hughes didn't have a training camp and wasn't able to turn up the way she needed to be able to win that fight. I'll bet you if they ran this fight back, I would bet on Sam Hughes again. If she had a full training camp, I'd be all over my girl Sam Hughes. Somehow this chick gets by Michelle Watterson. It's a split decision. It's a bad split decision. It's not a good fight. Thank God I was able to fade her with Hebos and Hill back to back. I got you. And if they keep trying to make Luana Pinheiro a thing, I will keep fading her and I will keep stacking chips. Love it. When you find somebody who's not doesn't got that heart, guys, that's the one thing. Like, if you can't teach that shit. If you don't got heart, if you're willing to look for the cage door, if you're willing to quit and get out of there, that's someone we can bet against. That's somebody we can make some money against. She's 30 years old. Like, she's suddenly gonna have heart in 2 years when she's 32 years old. Now that she's 4-2 in the UFC, they give her a softball to get her back on track because that's what's coming next. Pretty face like her, good skill set like her, they're giving her a softball. They're going to get her back on track in that next fight. But then the one after that, where she takes another little step up in competition, you think suddenly she's the Grinch and her heart has grown 3 sizes? No, we're going to fade this chick again. Maybe not the next fight, but the one after that. We'll get some more. We'll get going. Adrian Yanez and Vinicius Salvador, mentioned this at the top of the show, called the hands low fighting style of Salvador, called the Adrian Yanez buy low spot, the get right spot from the UFC. I had him parlayed up, money line just to be safe, but damn, man, I should have probably just shipped it on Yanez KO. I not even the round one, right? Because I know you can get like plus 125 or plus 150, something like that on the round one. Plus money is always nice, but the KO was always coming. You know what I mean? It's not, he doesn't look for submissions. He doesn't look to grapple. Like the KO was always the move, or even inside the distance. The KO was minus 115, inside the distance, minus 130, minus 135. Like, go ahead, take inside the distance just in case he decides to grab a neck for the first time in his UFC career. Fine, fine. But we should have shipped it. We could have put so much more money on Yanez in this spot. I've gotten better at identifying the buy low chalk stuff, the easy, shout out Low Shack in the bag back from Pub Sports Radio, the low hanging fruit. I've gotten better at picking those spots and putting my money where we need to get those easy wins. This was one of them, and I still don't think I got paid enough. That's one of those ones where I try to maintain good bankroll management. You guys know that. Key to long-term success gambling and not, losing your house is good bankroll management. And I try to preach that. I try to teach that. I try to maintain that for myself. Every once in a while, you find a spot where you want to throw the rules out the window. This was that spot. This was the spot. We could have gone 7 units deep on Yanez inside the distance. Like that's the kind of spot where we could have got paid. And I feel like a bit of a sucker for only making 2 units on Adrian Yanez this week. But, I'll take the win. I'll take it. It is what it is. Themba Gorimbo and Ramiz Brahimaj, not the fight I expected this one to be. I mean, it's a Ramiz fight, so like obviously it was going to be grappling heavy. But I thought Themba was actually going to be able to overcome this guy with his physicality, and I thought eventually he'd wear him down and maybe find a finish later in the fight. Thankfully, I finally wisened up. You guys, I'm really proud of myself in this spot. This is maybe one of the best feeling wins of the weekend for me, is because I, at surface level glance, went, I'm going to use Themba as a parlay piece like 2-3 weeks ago, right? And I threw him in a parlay without thinking a whole lot about it. Probably not the smartest move, but I was pretty sure I liked that side and was going to just do the research further on down and see if I needed to hedge out of it, etc., whatever. First leg was Robelis to Spain, and he busted the parlay. I was almost tempted into betting the Ramiz side of this fight. And then I dug in and I tape studied, and the hairs on the back of my neck, I went, why am I arguing against myself? I know smart people who I respect who bet the dog. This line has crashed. That all makes perfect sense to me. But I believed that Themba Gorimbo was going to win this fight. And then I looked back at some of the stuff I've done recently, and like I talked about the JSP spot, where JSP was the better fighter, was the better scrambler, was the better grappler, did everything right, and still lost to the guy who was more physical, still lost to the guy who could explode more, still lost to the guy who was, believe it or not, able to match his cardio. And I looked at this spot and I went, that's exactly what this is. Ramiz could take Themba down. Ramiz could get Themba's back, but Themba's getting better. The guy's bigger. The guy's got cardio for days. I know Ramiz slows down and gets tired, and on top of that, Ramiz is coming off of like a career-ending type of injury. Those are the types of spots that I don't want to trust a guy, because we don't know if we're getting you 100% or not, and we know for a fact that Themba's only getting better. I was really happy that I found my way back to the Themba Gorimbo money line this week, because I got a discount on that price tag. He opened up like damn near minus 300, and everyone bet Ramiz so hard that he was all the way down to like a minus 146 or something by the time I bet him. I think he got as low as minus 130 at one point, and I jumped in at the buy low spot, faded the whole market, and got rewarded for that shit. Feels freaking good. That's the kind of shit that when you're pulling that move, you're locked the fuck in. And that's where I'm like, I feel good right now. Chaos Williams, we already talked about that. Nuked Carlston Harris right out the gate. And that was the first bet I made on this card, was Chaos money line. Didn't need to get fancy. Didn't need the KO. It was there, obviously, but felt really good just about the money line in this spot. And he nukes Carlston Harris. I hope Chaos gets a quick turnaround. I hope they keep him busy. He is such an exciting prospect. He's in his prime. He's got death touch. He can go for a hard 15. Like, I love this guy. I really hope we get a whole lot of activity from Chaos Williams right around the corner. And then the main event, this is where I fucked up. So, like I mentioned before, my mistake, my error, leaving the Link Memorial Dog of the Week choice to the chat rather than just listening to my guy, howling up at the clouds myself and asking him for guidance. I left it to a vote and we picked Edson together, and that's what led to the loss here. But then I also bet fight doesn't go the distance. The idea was, hey, one of these two should cash. Maybe both of them will cash. I can't believe the beating that he took from Lerone Murphy in this fight. I can't believe the fight didn't get stopped. And I frankly can't believe they let the old man take that kind of punishment. He just kept wobbling. I mean, for like 3 straight rounds, this man was on skates. If Murphy had just stepped on the gas like a little bit, and I understand why he didn't, obviously, you're still fighting a very dangerous opponent. I feel like he could have gotten him out of there, or at least could have gotten the referee to step in and stop it. But we've seen what happens when someone blows their wad trying to finish Edson Barboza, and it doesn't end well for you. And he was smart not to do that. All props to Lerone Murphy. Just huge piles of props. He's been my guy all the way through. I've bet on him time and time and time again. And I talked about this last week on Monday that I was like, that's my guy. But for some reason, I had a bad feeling about this fight here with Edson Barboza. I should have just rode with my guy. Yeah, I tell you guys this all the time. If you're on a streak, there's no reason to jump off. Like, bet your guy. If they've been good to you, think about it like this is the only person you've ever bet on ever your whole life. You're 4-0 on this guy. Why flip against them? Why go against them in that spot? You're up. Like, even if they lose that fight, like, yeah, overall scheme of things, like you lost money, you don't want to give it away. But like focusing in on this one person, you're 3-1 now. You know what I mean? Like, or you're 4-1 now. Why? That's not a problem. Like, ride the freaking car until the wheels fall off. And that's what I should have done with Lerone Murphy in this spot. I got a little too fancy in the main event here in this spot. The old dog, I thought had one more bark left in him, but not to be, unfortunately. So that's the recap, guys. We went through the whole card, UFC Vegas 92. If you got any questions, hammer them in the chat. We'll go through a couple of them real quick. But then, like I said, I'm going to get out of here. I got a birthday to get to. Shane saying, my guy, just wanted to say good shit, digging yourself out of a hole. Appreciate you, my guy. Never a doubt. Thank you so much, Shane. You are the man. And yeah, it's always funny, especially with social media stuff, right? Like, I know there's a lot of people out there that are gambling for clout. They're just trying to get, attention. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. And then there's also professional gamblers out there who are really trying to make money doing this. And the truth is, I'm somewhere in between, right? But even though I'm more of an entertainer than I am a professional, I still want to have a positive record. I still want the people who play with me, and there's not a lot of you, but the people who do tail me or use my information, I still want to reward you guys for that. I don't want to be sitting here spewing bullshit out my ass, and then like the 1 year minus 70 units, right? Like, that doesn't feel good. That's not how you run a good brand. Like, I still want to be good enough that people want to come around for the information, not just the entertainment. And so I am still very much trying to take this shit as seriously as I possibly can. So digging myself out of that hole feels good. Hitting the reset button halfway through the year. We've got a long way to go. We can still get positive, obviously, by the end of 2024. And I'm looking to break a streak, guys. There's a pattern right now with me. And ever since I started the podcast, this is year 6. And I have alternated win-loss every single year since I started the podcast. And the numbers are just getting bigger. So like the first year I won like 10 units. The second year I lost like 8 units. The third year I won like 30 units. The fourth year I lost like 21. So like the numbers are just getting bigger. I am overall profitable. But then we got to the minus 70 unit year, and that was followed up by the plus 90 unit year. Like, biggest losing year of my life, followed immediately by the biggest winning year of my life. I am trying to break this cycle. I want to have back-to-back winning years. I'm shooting for big, right? Like, I would love to get that 100 unit win year, but I just want to be positive this year. This year, I just want to go back-to-back years of being profitable as a gambler. That's the goal. Hopefully it's a good number. Hopefully it's 30, 40 units, something like that. If we can get on such a heater that I'm looking down the barrel at 100 units, then fantastic. Let's do that. But at the end of the day, I just don't want to be negative for 2024. I want to break the cycle. Aussie saying Harris not shooting for a takedown against Chaos is stupid. And yes, I would agree with you, except against a guy like that, you really got to set it up. And he's really freaking strong, and he's got good takedown defense. So it's one of those spots where, honestly, guys, I just didn't understand the line. I felt like it was a perfect matchup for Chaos. I think Carlston Harris would have struggled to get those takedowns. Should he have shot for one? Yeah, probably. But you also can't just dive in on a guy like Chaos because look what happened, right? Like you gotta set it up with something. Let's see here. Dream saying I parlayed Dawson Moreno and Hafez. Ooh, interesting. We got UFC 302, right? Next week is UFC 302 right around the corner. Let's just take a peek at that. Randy Brown, Elizu Zaleski dos Santos. Randy Brown is my kryptonite, guys. Like I can't get Randy Brown ever at all. It's just not a thing I can manage to get a grip on, apparently. So I'm gonna have to look into that one. Early lean is to bet against him, but I keep betting against him and it keeps not working. And Elizu Deleski dos Santos, as much as he is fantastic, he is getting older. Phil Rowe, Jake Matthews, that's an interesting fight. Phil was my guy there for a while, and I've had some really sharp calls on Jake Matthews as well. I know those two guys pretty well. I'll have to dig into that one. Kind of lean, maybe Phil. Jake Matthews just seems like he's kind of topped out to me. But if he wrestles, which again, you can't really trust him to, Phil has no takedown defense. He's willing to play off his back constantly. And this lines up well, right? Wait a second. Briva asking for the Dawson Selecki prediction. Dawson's a big favorite in this spot. I'm not really a Joe Selecki believer, but I also feel like Grant Dawson got his fraud check is a strong word, right? That's a strong term, but him coming off that last fight, the way he got flatlined, that's questionable, but they're obviously getting him a friendly matchup here. You know, Joe Selecki's a fellow grappler. He's not a guy who's gonna KO him on the feet or something like that. So I have to kind of go with Grant Dawson there, but I'll bet you that fight plays out pretty close because they're both pretty high caliber grapplers. Grant Dawson's he's pulling the Aljo, guys. Like he's looking to take your back and backpack you. I don't know if he can backpack Joe Selecki quite that easily because Joe's such a slick grappler himself. This is one of those fights where you might get that shitty striking matchup because neither guy can quite out the other when it comes to their grappling. Oh, Nico Price and Morono. That one's interesting. I love Nico Price, man, but boy, it just seems like he is burnt toast right now. He was the victim of one of the very, very few people on planet Earth to retire on a high note, right? Freaking Robbie Lawler flatlined the guy. So tough days here for Nico Price. He never moved, you know? He never went to like a bigger camp or got better bodies around him. He's 34 years old. Like, seems like it's kind of past his window of opportunity to be much of anything except for a fun fighter. Morono's a guy that'll get in there and bang it out, but like, I don't know, man. 2 years ago, I'd have bet Nico Price in a heartbeat, but now it seems like Morono's got all the momentum. Cesar Almeida and Roman Hopilov. Interesting that Almeida's a dog again. Very interesting to me that Almeida's a dog again because this guy is 5-0 off Contender Series. He is absolutely getting the Alex Pereira treatment. And we saw in his last fight that he's really worked hard on like his grappling and stuff like that. He hits freaking hard. And I like Roman Hopilov. I like Roman Hopilov a lot, but he's 33 years old, coming off of a loss. That one's tough. I could absolutely see this being another spot where Almeida can get another quick win because they're really turning that guy around since he's a little bit older. They're trying to give him an opportunity in a hurry. Might want to snatch that plus money, though. I've got a feeling that number might move. Jailton Almeida and Alexander Romanov, maybe the most interesting fight on this card. Jailton getting absolutely wrecked by my guy Curtis Blades in his last fight. The shine has come off of him. I finally got a sexy ass win, what I was looking for against Jailton, because I just did not believe in this guy. I still don't. I don't believe in Jailton at heavyweight, guys. That's what this comes down to for me. Jailton is a 205er. I know the weight cut sucks. I know he was a big 205er, but he's a small heavyweight. And unless you've got Derek Lewis, who literally you just sit on his chest for 25 minutes, I don't think he can handle these heavyweights the way he does 205ers. And now he's taking on King Kong. And I know Romanov doesn't have the greatest cardio in the world, but that's a big boy. And he's a grappler. Like, that man can wrestle. So does Jailton's cardio overcome the size of Romanov in this spot? Like, maybe. Is he going to KO Romanov? Not a chance. Is he going to sub Romanov? Also, probably not very likely. Is he going to get tired again after trying to move around this big old boy for a round. It's the cardio battle here is going to be very, very interesting because when he struggled to get blades down, that opened up the striking opportunities for Curtis in round two. Romanov doesn't have the hands that Curtis Blades does. So that threat is not there the same way. But it's still the same kind of idea where if you can't quite push this big old body around, does that make you tired? Does that wear you out? Can you go for another 15 hard minutes with this guy that can stuff your takedowns? That's a good fight. That's a fun fight. I can't wait to see how that one goes. Can't believe they've got Jailton sitting at minus 300 again. Wild. That's almost a little disrespectful of Romanov. Obviously, guys, you're getting top of my head thoughts right now. I will run the tape. I'll do the research and I'll come back with a podcast next week. We're having Lucrative MMA on the show, guys. So our guy James from Lucrative MMA, one of the sharpest, most fun sports betting guys I know, he's going to break down this awesome pay-per-view card with us. So we've got some good shit coming up. My guy Luke, Sparring with Reality. Just saw Luke posted an update. My man's up 40 units on the year. Impressive as shit there, Luke. Good stuff, man. Happy to hear you absolutely rolling so far this year. That'll about do it for me today, guys. So Strickland Costa, I mean, I got to say Strickland, I guess, because we know Costa, he doesn't have the power that he has advertised. And he's just a guy that can be figured out. Sean Strickland, I think, probably melts him the same way everybody else does. But that fight might not even happen. Costa's pulling the no signed bout agreement bullshit again, probably just trying to get the UFC to pay him a little extra to make it official. But you never know with these guys. That fight might not happen. And then Makhachev and Poirier, tough scenes on this one. I don't like Islam Makhachev. I don't like him at all. I think he's a little chinny. I think someone with the hands of Dustin Poirier can absolutely get to him. But we've seen time and time again that Dustin Poirier, when fighting these wrestler grapplers, cannot keep up protecting his back, right? He puts himself in bad positions. He'll jump that ghillie. He gets taken down. And if he gets his back taken by a guy like Islam, it's night. It happens every time, right? We see the rear naked choke constantly with Dustin Poirier. So it's an interesting spot. I don't think Islam Makhachev was born in the fires that Khabib was. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think he can take the kind of heat the way that Khabib did. And Dustin Poirier is not chinny or fragile the way I feel like Charles Oliveira is. I actually think Dustin Poirier is live in this spot, like top of the head. Like I kind of want to say Dustin Poirier is live. However, he's also already come out on record and been like, if I don't win this fight, if I don't get the belt, I'm probably going to retire. And it's like, R word, big old R word. Like if he gets gold wrapped around his waist and hangs it up, Dustin, I'll tell you guys though, Dustin might be the one guy that the retirement angle doesn't matter on, because I guarantee you that he is working harder than anybody in the room every single time, even if it's his retirement fight. Like he's just such a BMF that he will go out there and put his heart and soul on the line every time he fights. He might be the guy that we kind of throw the R word situation out the window for, like him, Gaethje, Max Holloway, the guys that are built that way. It's not the same thing. If they're fighting, they're fighting. You know what I mean? So I'm not quite as worried about it with him. We'll see. We'll see what ends up happening for me on that main event. It's a tough one, but I'm not. You guys know I'm biased. I don't want to see Islam with the belt. I think he's a bad champion. He's going to fight once every year and then take call outs for Conor McGregor and bullshit. He's going to try to be a 2-division champ way too early. Like that's the kind of champion we're dealing with. I want Dustin Poirier to take that belt. I absolutely want DP to have undisputed gold wrapped around his waist. And I would love to see Islam Makhachev be a contender once again rather than a champion. So we'll take a closer look at that one next week. I'll do my research and I'll get back to you guys for sure. Definitely appreciate all of you hanging out. We had 340 viewers live tonight. And Ethan asking if I tailed Keg. Of course I tailed Keg. Did you guys not see? I retweeted it. If you don't follow me on socials, you should. My guy Nuked the House. He went back to back on NASCAR this week. Stupid numbers, cashing like 7-1, 11-1, 5-1, plus 650. Like he just went off the chain this weekend and I tailed him. I did, Ethan. Thank you for asking. So shout out to my guy Keg because we crushed in NASCAR this weekend. Absolutely love it. And Jared, yeah, the Islam fans are definitely going to come for me. But you know what though? I look like the Islam fans. I am rocking my beard over here, so they might take it lightly on me. And I am the #1 believer in Umar Nurmagomedov on planet Earth. So I fit into the club just a little bit. Like maybe I'm not a big fan of Islam, but I like Umar, guys. Like, don't kill me. Don't take it easy. We're on the same team here. It's okay. That'll do it, guys. You have a wonderful week. No total takedown, no undefeated, unfortunately, this week because there is no card. If there's anything to bet on, we'll figure it out. I'm going to go bet on some hockey, though. That's what I've been doing to keep myself busy. We'll take the week off. We'll enjoy the time away, let the brain rest. Hopefully, we come back sharper than before, and we're just going to continue ragdolling 2024. We're going to make this year our bitch. We're going to make some serious cash the rest of the year. I can't wait. There's some good shit coming up.
Does anybody else have any other stupid questions for me tonight? Thank you. Have a good night.
That'll do it, guys. Have a good week. Let's roll.